and welcome to the Guitarist Tone Lounge. I'm Neville Martin.
I'm Richard Barrett.
Today we've got a very interesting new product from Audient, and it's called the Sono. It's essentially a guitar interface, but it's so much more than that. And what we thought we'd do is we get a couple of guys from Audient along to talk about it, do some playing. We'll try and lay a track down using it, and hopefully have some fun, and you can learn a bit about this amazing product. This is Andy from Audient. Andy's going to do a bit of the technical stuff with us here. Then we're going to get a fantastic guitarist called Jimmy Owen to come along and sit down and play with Richard, and hopefully they can get some music down so you can see how this fantastic thing works.
So Andy, thanks for coming to the Tone Lounge.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. Would you please give me an idiot's walkthrough of who Audient are, and then we'll get into this afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. So Audient are a recording hardware company. So originally we started making analog large format recording consoles for studios, and we've been doing that for over 20 years. Wow. The company was founded by a guy called David Dearden and Gareth Davis, who were famous for starting DDA and doing some stuff for Soundcraft and just sort of legends of the industry.
Yeah, indeed.
And around the time everyone started making digital consoles, they decided we're going to stick to our guns and make analog consoles, and they did. Good. And the main console we've made is called the 8024 Heritage Edition, and I'm glad enough to say it's been selling for nearly 20 years now. So that's sort of testament to their design and it still being a very useful tool.
Yes,
but within the last 5 or 6 years, what we've done is we've taken that, everything we learned from designing consoles, including the mic pre-design and some of the console-style monitoring functionality that we have, and we started thinking this would be really great to have on a desktop. So we took some of that technology and we started putting it into recording interfaces, as well as mic pre's and some surround sound controllers, amongst other stuff. And yeah, I'm glad to say that ever since then we've won multiple awards for the audio interfaces we've developed, and that's sort of led us naturally into looking at what other areas of the industry we can try and create tools that make the recording process easier for musicians and for engineers, which has led us to creating the Audient Sono. So,
because I'm aware I did a little bit of reading before we met up today, and I'm aware that this can be used as an audio interface in a variety of situations, recording up to, was it 8 tracks or something?
Well, it does 2 channels out of the box, but it can be expanded digitally up to 10 channels via ADAT. So you could plug in like an external mic pre and have enough channels to record drums, basically.
Yes.
So it's not restrictive. It can grow with you if you want to expand it later on.
Great. I mean, I guess our main concern here in the Tone Lounge is recording guitars with it and getting great organic sort of sound. So I guess if we go in at that point.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it's been designed with. Sono's been designed with guitarists in mind first and foremost. So at its heart, it is a 2-channel audio interface.
And I noticed it's got a 12AX7 valve in there.
But it has a tube in it, as we should say. Yeah, it has a 12AX7 tube that is fully powered at 200 volts. So it's not just there for show. It really is a working valve. And if you sort of compare it to a normal DI on other interfaces, you really hear the difference. It does really sound good. And all the warmth you'd expect from a tube is there.
And presumably it could be a tube mic pre. So
it's got 2 Audient console mic pre's. So they're the mic pre's that we have taken the exact same mic pre from the big consoles that are sat in some of the best studios around the world, and taken them and put them inside here. So you're getting a really good mic pre, and we've made it possible to send the first mic pre through the valve as well.
Right.
But the main focus of Sono is the guitar channel. So as you can see from the white surface here on the top, it is very much laid out like an amp. So quite approachable and familiar to guitarists who are using amps. So the DI here is on the front, and this basically goes into the valve, and then you go into an input. You've got a drive stage, which is controlling the power amp modelling in 2 notes, which we will get to, and then you've got an output stage, which goes into your cab stage here, and then you've got a standard 3-band EQ.
So noticing you've got some pedals here on the table.
Yep.
Clearly this has some sounds of its own in it, but you're not reliant on having your sounds, if you like, the sounds that the company wants to present. You can use your own, so the guitarist can use their own sound to link in with all the great processing that's in here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fundamentally been designed to be the foundation for your tone. talking to lots of guitarists when we were developing this, what they were telling us is their sound is on their pedal board, and that's where they're experimenting most with different gains, different reverbs, delays, compressors, whatever it is you're interested in. But we started realising that was the crux of what people's sound was. So we thought,
more than ever these days, I think guitarists are running pedals into the front of a cleanish platform.
The term pedal board amp seems to be flying around quite a lot these days, and that is what a lot of the people that we're trying to address with this will benefit from, because this really is a foundation for you to be able to plug your pedal board in and start recording fast. The main issue it addresses is latency. So in the recording world, the issue is when people are using amp sims, which are great these days, they are struggling with latency, so that can affect the way it feels. And obviously,
so latency, i.e. you pick and the sound doesn't come out instantaneously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And even a tiny amount can make you feel a bit like you're watching someone else do it, can't it?
And it really takes away from the feel and the sort of creativity that you want to feel and channel when you're recording, right? And there's ways around it. People tend to either turn the amp simps off and record a clean DI, or they might freeze the rest of their tracks in their DAW, which can take time. And by the time you've worked around it, the moment's gone, and it just gets in the way of being creative and getting the performance down. Which is the key thing that this allows you to do, is capture the performance fast by simply plugging in and recording.
Without overthinking about your own timekeeping as well, which I've certainly have experience of.
But that sort of, I should say about, so we partnered with Two Notes, who are a French company that specialise in making cab sims. They're really well known and respected, as you guys know, and very good at it. So this doesn't do amp sims, it does cab sims. So the idea is you create your sound using your pedals, and you take it through the valve, and then you come out into the cab sim, which is controlled by the Torpedo Remote software. So this is a remote to control what's going on inside Sono. It's not a plug-in, so there's no processing happening on your computer. All the DSP is happening inside the Sono itself. So, as you can probably guess, that removes the latency that is created by the round-trip journey of going into your interface, into your computer, and then back out into your speakers and hearing and feeling
CPU
that latency.
and all that usage will be lower.
Because it's all in the box. So the idea is, if you did want to use an amp sim further down the line, you could, because you could simply use this to capture your performance and get a really good sound that you're most likely going to want to use in your recording anyway. But if you weren't happy with it, this is able to capture a clean DI simultaneously. So it always gives you an option to change your tone, but you've got the performance down, which is the crucial thing, right?
And you haven't had to play it with a DI'd sound and try to imagine it sounding cool as you're doing it.
It's
just not going to happen.
Do a guitar solo like in a big rock track with a clean DI is not something you want to experience. It's not fun. Or just recording to a click on its own is also another workaround that is not fun.
Problems. I agree.
I don't want to jump ahead here, but it's worth knowing possibly at this time that you could put that on your pedal board and use it as a live rig into an amp, couldn't you?
Yeah, because the DSP
or you could stick it in a gig bag and fly abroad with it, rather than
absolutely.
So it's not just amp for sticking straight into your DAW or your computer.
It is primarily designed to record, but it sort of has three different use cases you can apply it to. So recording being the first one of those, but second, you could just have it on your coffee table, because as you rightly said, as the DSP is inside the box, and by DSP I mean digital signal processing, so basically what would normally happen on your computer is happening on a chip inside Sono itself. That allows you to just have it on a nice coffee table in your tone
so you
lounge,
can put
and
headphones
just
in it and jam along if you want to.
Plug a set of speakers in, or put some headphones in, and just plug your power in and just jam away without annoying your spouse or your neighbours or anything like that.
So you said you decided not to put a reverb and a delay in it, that people would prefer to use their own.
A lot of previous similar products to this. There's none that are really too similar, but certain different iterations, people have tended to put reverbs and delays and built-in effects, which we felt really forced you into using their ecosystem. Which if it's good, then you're fine with that and that works for your workflow, great. But a lot of guitarists, as we know, they want pedals and they want to use pedals, and we didn't want to force people to use our reverb and delays when they've got a really nice, Strymon reverb sat on their pedal. It seems sort of counterproductive.
And we do tend to think more organically about stuff, don't we?
Sometimes I want to hear an effect as it is coming through a guitar speaker rather than the hi-fi version that's applied after the
We like things made of wood. stuff like that, metal and
Certainly
things. Yeah.
Yeah, this is solid, made out of
solid
metal.
metal,
It really is nice weighted.
I mean, what we're looking at on this laptop screen, though, is essentially what is generated from the box, and we've got a virtual room, haven't we, and a virtual speaker.
Yeah. So
a mic on
what this remote is doing really is providing customization where most guitarists don't have it unless they're extremely lucky, which is huge, extensive collections of guitar cabs, loads of live rooms that sound great for recording purposes. And loads of expensive microphones. And the other thing they might not have as well is the base knowledge of engineering on where to put a microphone and how to set it up, which again is another thing that can get in the way of just being creative and start recording fast. And some people don't want to be focusing on where a microphone should be on a cab. They just want to record and have fun and make music. So what this software does is it provides you multiple options. So if I just jump onto the software here, as you can see, we've got, at the moment, a microphone, a cab in this nice studio live room called Studio B. All three of those features can be changed. So if I, for example, change the live room, I can flip through them. We've got Cathedral, Crypt, Hall B. And where that gets interesting is I can use this distance control here to move the microphone, change the distance from the guitar cab, so you get more of the room. Yeah, so you're getting a little bit of natural reverb from the room, so that's just an impulse response. But what Two Notes have done that's really clever is they've taken something like 60,000 impulse responses and combined them all together to sort of give you the best sounding impulse response that you're going to get, the best position of the microphone, the best place in the room, the cab. It's taken away all that what ifs that that you might go through on other software, and just said it's meant to sound like this. This is how it sounds really good. Because I feel like if you give someone too many options, you can find yourself forever in the software and forgetting that you're actually meant to be recording a part. So this is trying to limit that.
For clarity, for some guitarists who might not know, can you just say what an impulse response is?
Yeah, so an impulse response is essentially you can go into any room in any space and take a response of the room. I won't go into detail on how the room sounds, and you can essentially, through some clever engineering, just save it on your computer. So I could take the Tone Lounge impulse response, for example, and then go home and play a drum kit and put that on this room on as my drum kit reverb. So essentially it's a reverb, it's a room's reverb that you can store and take with you and apply to other
sonic
spaces.
Fingerprint, that might be a bit of a cliche, but I can
that's a much better way to put it. And a lot of people might do that. For example, if we set up and recorded this guitar amp here, we might not be happy with it on the day, so we might take an impulse response as a backup to go, if we want to recreate that sound, for example, we're using a different cab, but we loved the room, we could go and put the room on a different cab, for example.
Well, shall I have a bit of a
I'm talking too much, so we should definitely play, and that allows me to explain some of these features.
What's going on, but I think that were I watching, I'd be thinking, okay, I want to hear it.
So I flicked back to a preset that we quickly saved earlier, and like we should mention, we spent how long? About 5 minutes dialing this in. Yeah, and that just shows how easy. I spent longer tuning
my guitar, I think.
Yeah. So
So what have we got? Okay, I'll just play a couple of chords. Would you mind actually, if I carry on playing similar things to that, perhaps demonstrate what happens as the microphone moves around?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, all we're hearing is Sono. None of the pedals are active. We're just hearing what's going on in Sono itself. So
yes, and this is doing what it's designed to do. It's not going to give some high gain tone or anything like that. It's plugged into a virtual kind of clean amp, as it were, where we can add a bit of power.
Yeah, this is your foundation that gives you the starting point to build upon with pedals if you wanted to.
So I'm not using my pedal board yet.
Yeah.
So yes, if you wouldn't mind, I'll just play a few A's, G's and D's.
Sure.
So what's happening there? That's gone to modern from vintage.
Yeah, so what I was doing there is I was changing the distance of the microphone and showing off the different live rooms and how different they sound. The loft being one of my personal favourites, mainly because I want to live there, because I mean, who lives there,
nice,
right? It's pretty nice.
You could have your breakfast there, then mic your cab over there.
You could have your 25 cabs that you own. Oh wait, no,
sorry,
we don't. So yeah, I was just changing the distance to show off the rooms, and the tone feature that I started playing with and the contour features, they're essentially doing various things with EQ, but they're meant to be more semantic in their style to stop you from having to dive into EQs and start dialing in proper.
I want it a bit darker. I want it a bit.
The emphasis on what Two Notes have done here is it's meant to be fun. So this is just quick, easy fun. I want something to sound brighter. I want something to sound darker. And obviously this nice animation also sort of shows you from nighttime to daytime, which is very cool.
We could almost stop there, really. Quick, easy fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we all want.
Looking at the screen from this perspective, it's very logical and very simple to lay out. Everything makes immediate sense. There's nothing there that's telling me this is different technologies to what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Which I think for guitarists is really important, because you don't want to see a load of stuff that doesn't really relate to you as a guy who's been using big old wooden amps and big round knobs on it for the years.
Yeah, it's designed to sort of cater for both traditionalists and people that want to become more power users and really dive in. They can do that. The only real menu diving you ever have to do is when you pick your cab. Yeah. And to be honest, I, for demo purposes here, I've got all of them, but Sono ships with 20 cabs, which should be more than enough to get you up and running in most genres. And we've picked ones that we think feel will do that for you. But realistically, if you wanted to, you could just flick through them using these arrows here. And as you can see, it just changes to a different cab. But in terms of cabinet sizes, you have your standard 2x12s, 4x12s, 2x10s, and Two Notes are always adding new cabs to the store, which you can preview in live mode on here.
Yes, they're fairly low cost, aren't they? Cabs.
I think they go from anywhere to £1 to £10, or euros or dollars, and wherever you are. They're not expensive, and I was telling you earlier, for example, they've got a pack that they've done with Mesa Boogie that's official pack, and it sounds really good. And there's this pack we're using here is a Celestian pack, and it sounds really nice. And if you want to do something really specific, there's going to be that cab for you. It's most likely it comes with Sono already, but if you're really looking for an exact one, you can go on the store and just simply buy it and pop it onto Sono. And it's
the other thing I'd say is that as somebody who's used some of the modern systems, profiling, modelling systems, not that this is that, it's very easy to be given millions of this, millions of that, millions of cabs, millions of amps, millions of microphones, millions of potential positions to do everything. You end up using, most people I think end up using the things they like. In my system I use a Vox sound, a Marshall sound and a Fender sound, and I tend to like 2x12 open cabs. Yeah. That's what I tend to like. Yeah. Another guy might want Soldanos, boogie, triple rectifiers and 3 or 5 4x12 closed back cabinets. It's not what I want, but they're there in all these systems should you want them. Yeah.
Yes, so you choose them as your benchmark and go, right, that's that decision made, now we'll work with that.
Most people won't even use the 20 that you've got. They'll find the things that they like, and they'll probably end up using 1 or 2 or 3 of the rooms as well. But the potential is there to do everything you want.
Yeah, exactly. And when you do find those 3 sounds that you like, you can just store them on the free presets that are on Sono. So if we were to store them on, you can see the slot here, A, B and C, for example, you can get rid of your computer. And like you said, the last use case that we didn't touch on earlier was you could take this to a gig, plug it straight into the PA, and you've got 3 amp sounds, on a tiny unit next to your pedal board, and you don't have to take an amp round, because some gigs, right, it doesn't suit taking your big stack, or you might just not be able to get it there.
A couple of guys I know that have used the Two Notes stuff, and just put their pedal board into it, which is
and it's not, like I said, it's from a live point of view, it's not what we originally designed it for, but we quickly, with the people that were helping us test this, they quickly realised, I could take this live, and it works flawlessly because it's all in the box, right? And I'm like, it's all in there.
Musicians will always discover the wrong way to do something that ends up being an amazing way to use it, won't they?
guitar amps, yeah. I
Yeah,
guess,
exactly.
and
They weren't meant to distort.
the engineers were going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the software. So it's designed to sort of be there as much as you need it to be, or like I just said, you don't have to use it at all. You can quickly dial in your three favorite presets that you're always going to use, store them, and never have to use the remote again if you don't want to.
Yeah.
The other main crucial thing that I haven't mentioned is it's got a reamp output on the front of the product here. I'm not sure if we can see it, but if I flip it up to the camera there, you can see there's a 2 amp output. What that allows you to do is, I touched on the fact that it recorded a clean DI simultaneously earlier. You can use that DI to either send it into, well, your favorite amp sim, if you're using like Guitar Rig or Positive Grid or something along those lines. Yeah, this isn't forcing you to use the 2-note sound if you don't want to.
Yes.
You can use the 2-note sound, and it's, like I said, it's probably going to sound more than good enough to be in a recording. But if you've got your favourite amp sim and you've got a sound that you really just want to use, but you don't want to have to deal with the latency while you're tracking, then use this to track and then send it through the amp sim later. You can even start stacking the sounds together. Or send it out to your amp,
something like this,
set up a microphone and record it the traditional way. So this isn't, can't stress that enough, it's not forcing you to work a certain way, it's sort of, it adapts to your workflow and how you want to use it, which is something that we spent a long time thinking about. And instead of adding features, we actually started taking them away, going, you know what, it depends, we can't make a box that works for everyone, so we should stop trying. We should try and make something that just adapts to different people's workflows, and I think that's mainly what we've achieved here. But at its heart, it's still a recording interface. So you can still record microphones, and like I said, you've got 2 mic pre's, you can send them through the valve. You could even plug a synth into the line in and send that through the valve and all this 2-note software and start getting really experimental.
So you could sing into it with
a
vocal mic?
Yeah, you could get like a valve, tube-styled microphone, and start experimenting if you wanted to add a bit of grit to a mic or something like that.
I need all the help I can get.
Especially distort it to the point of not being able to hear it like me when I sing.
Perfect.
Yeah, or you could actually take an external preamp pedal. So if you've got like a Kraken or like a 2 Notes lead or something like that that's designed to do something very specific, more high gain stuff, you could come in the line in, bypass our tube entirely, and just use the 2 Notes. Or you can tone the 2 Notes off entirely. It's really flexible.
Quite keen to do a little bit more playing and try the tube screamer through this. We've got one set up. I wonder, Nev, if I could trouble you to push the on button on that 808 there.
Has that gone on?
The thing. Very nice. It's interacting with it the way that I would expect it to if I plugged it into my clean amp.
It sort of has that feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, the guitarists always say it feels so good because they see the software and they go, it's a plugin, so it must not feel right. But it's in here, so it does feel right. It does feel good when you're playing, and that's the biggest compliment we could ask for from all the guitarists that have played this so far.
Well, because of hardware as well, I'm feeling like you could use the tube screamer in a few ways, like run the level high and the drive low and all that kind of thing, and it will reflect that the way that an amp would.
Yeah, and then, if you, like I said earlier, if you want to start doing more advanced recordings like drum kits and stuff, you can expand it, and it also comes with a dedicated mixer that you don't need to use if you're just using it like this, but you would need to use if you had 8 channels and you wanted to start routing stuff to headphone amps and taking control of big recording sessions. You can do it, so it does grow with you, and it's not limiting you, and you won't have to buy something new in a couple of years' time. No. So yeah, it does a bit of everything, and it does it quite well. And the most exciting part of it is to play around with all the cabs and all the sounds, which is, I believe, what you guys are going to do with Jimmy. So
yeah, exactly. Yes. We are. That's really great. I mean, it's a fascinating thing, and what I like about it is it's one of those things that on the surface is simple, and even an idiot like me can get to use it pretty much straight away. My own intuition would work out what's happening. but if you want to, you can go in deep and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Exactly.
And to the nth degree. And, you know, a hugely clever sound engineer can go bonkers with it, I presume.
Yeah. I mean, I've covered everything for the sake of the video, but really, I could have just sat here and gone, yeah, just plug into it and dial up, choose a cab and a microphone and start recording.
Yeah, which is what you do on a daily basis, isn't it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, but you just can do it without all those latency issues, and you can do it without having to go and set up a guitar amp. But like I'm saying, I'm not sitting here going, don't go and set up your guitar amp. It's just there's different times when you need different things.
A lot of us don't want to go and set up a guitar amp because we have families and neighbours and things like that.
Yeah, and we don't have these beautiful live rooms, you know, sat in the garage. That we can go and set a cab up. We just want to go, oh, I've got an idea, I just want to record it, or I just want to play it, and you know, you can do both of those things.
And some of us have sound engineers that would rather you didn't make any noise on stage at all.
I know what you mean. I do feel like, well, forgive me, sound engineers that may be watching, but that's the tail wagging the dog a bit, isn't it? It's like, well,
but as somebody who does use stuff on certain situations I play in where I don't have any volume on stage, it's actually great as well.
Yeah.
But it's also great to make a load of noise. You know, I've got my own amps and I make noise on stage as you do, etc., etc. But you know.
Yeah, I mean, when you do want to record your amp, you still can.
Yeah.
You know, it's just you might not be able to do it at midnight when that
Quite,
riff idea hits you.
Exactly.
You know? Exactly. So yeah, hopefully it just makes recording more fun for guitarists. And the other thing that we didn't touch on is it does bass as well. So there's plenty of bass cab models in here. So you can use it. It's not just for guitarists; it is for bass guitarists too. And it works exactly the same.
Somebody that does a lot of recording at home, and speaking as one of those people myself, I can imagine having that on the desktop as always in the system, whether I'm doing bass or guitar.
Yeah. And, you know, it comes with really good converters as well. So you're always going to be monitoring and listening to really high quality audio. It's not going to sound like it's not giving you enough detail when you're recording and mixing. You're going to get a really nice stereo image, accurate stereo image of what you should be hearing, you know, as you're playing it. So.
Should we make some noise then? Shall we?
Yeah, I think you guys should play it.
Let's get Jimmy.
Yes, let's get Jimmy in and make some noise then. Hi, we're back. You'll notice Andy's gone and he's been replaced by Jimmy Owen. Jimmy and Richard are going to play lay down a track, 4 separate tracks of guitar on that one track, and they'll play to a click. We're not going to go really deep into how they're doing it, but we'll just tell you the sounds they're using, and hopefully you'll just get an idea of how this thing works.
Well, we've set up a basic drum track in Logic, and I'm going to play a preliminary kind of rhythm bed track over this, which I've spent at least a minute thinking up, if not a little bit more. Got the Celestian greenback tone that we've already used a little bit earlier on. I'm going through the Tube Screamer for a little bit of enhanced dirt, and an Echo Rec, Catlin bred Echo Rec, for a little bit of ambience. The approach I'm going to take is to start with the guitar's volume down a little bit, down to about halfway, and then gradually, well, you know, in increments at least, end up there with a bit more heft. So if, Jimmy, you don't mind being engineer for me for one moment and pressing R, then I'm going to try this.
Okay, so now we're going to change sounds. I'm going to add a rhythm part onto Richard's amazing rhythm part he's put down.
Well, thank you.
And I'm going to use a twin sound here. I'm going to use a 57 like before, but I'm going to put it through an Echo Rec for a little bit of ambience. And I'm running it not as hot, the power amp not as hot as before, so it's less drive on this, and I'm running the tone a little bit brighter, and I brought the mic a little bit further away to give me a bit more Just give me a little bit more reverb there.
So, well, thanks for that, Jimmy. That's really given it another dimension. That's another overdub. So I'm going to have a little play over the front end of it, and then I'm going to get out of your way because I'd like to hear your voice over this. But if you don't mind doing me that favour again, because I'm not wearing my reading glasses, and starting the track up, then I can try and be a guitar hero.
Ready
briefly.
to rock and or roll.
And or, yes. For the sounds there, we were using the Tweed 2x12 speaker model. I was using the Tube Screamer and the Catlin Bred Echo Rec just for that nice little bit of ambience. And we're in Studio B, and I think we were a 57 on there, just in between the two speakers, a little bit further back than the rhythm parts.
Okay, I'm going to put a lead track down now. I slightly changed the settings. Same setup as Richard, but the settings are slightly different. I've made the tones slightly darker because of my Strat. I brought the mic a little bit further away, and I'm running it just a little bit hotter because I'm not as talented as Richard.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed that demonstration of the Audient Sono as much as I did, sitting here watching Richard and Jimmy play and Andy helping to sort out all the technical stuff. It took no time at all to do that track, and they literally were doing it on the fly, and the sounds were fantastic. I mean, it's one of those things I never thought I needed until today, and I think I really need one of these now because it's such a solution to that home recording scenario. And if you want to, you can whack it in your gig bag and take it out on a gig. If you're flying abroad, whack it in your gig bag again, off you go. I'll leave it to Richard and Jimmy to say what they think about it as well. What do you reckon, Rich?
Well, as someone that has found it quite difficult to bond with software versions of amps, I mean, that's not a statement of their quality, but I'm just saying that as a guitar player that's used to being fairly old school about it and plugging into an amp and getting a sound that way, I'm relating to this. The lack of latency is part of it. Having physical buttons to turn, knobs to turn. I was trying to avoid the word knob, but there we go, it's out there now. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. So I can turn those and change the sound. It's a more intuitive and a more tactile way of doing it, and I really like the way it sounds.
Yeah. You've used it a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a singer-songwriter point of view and as a guitarist, I think one of the most wonderful things about it is it's extremely intuitive. It's very quick. I can get my ideas down very, very fast, and but the sounds are wonderful. And I mean, what I mean by that is that the soundscapes and stuff I'm looking for, if it's very specific, I can dial it in quickly. It's not something that you need to go searching for a very long time. Your idea will be out there before you, out of your head, before you know it, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, before you get tired of the idea itself, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you can make it reality, and it's about the music rather than about searching for the elusive
for hours and hours,
sound.
Yeah. So there we have the Audient Sono. It's an amazing piece of kit. It's going to street for around £400. For more info, just go to audient.com. We'll see you next time.